Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge, and is Bruno Fernandes leaving Manchester United? Breaking news suggests that he's considering it, that Al Hilal are confident and they are ready to offer huge wages, but also a huge fee for Manchester United. Obviously, I think the comments section, whether you're watching live or not, is going to be full of whether you do it or whether you wouldn't do it. I find this... look, life is about circumstance and that changes opinions. Before Wednesday, when we spoke about this over a week ago, I said absolutely not for multiple reasons. One, if you do this now, what does it do to the European football scene? Because every player could be bought that's decent, and Bruno's our player of the year going to Saudi. Two, you shouldn't be letting your captain go, your best player go. How does that impact the team? But that was before Wednesday. And I think after Wednesday, and there is one big thing here that I think everybody is missing, and it's nothing to do with Bruno, and it's nothing to do with us, and it's nothing to do with the club, and it's the biggest factor, and it's nothing to do with Saudi as well. And I'll tell you what that is in a moment, because it's Ruben Amorim. But I think losing the game on Wednesday changes everything. And I've got to say as well, since the story came in about Saudi, Bruno's been terrible. If you pinpoint the moment the story broke, every game since then, he has been terrible. He was terrible against Chelsea, terrible the game before that, and terrible in the final. So I can't understand why he was so bad in a final where if he wins that game, he doesn't need to leave. I thought he was shocking in that final, and maybe he has had his head turned because it is all about margins. But honestly, before the final, and if we'd won the final, I wouldn't have done this deal. Now, knowing what Liverpool have just done with Wirtz and Frimpong, and knowing what Arsenal are probably going to do with Gyökeres, we are so far behind, that if we don't do something this summer, we will be further and further behind to a point where it's impossible to come back just because we're Manchester United. You can't use that. It doesn't give you any money in the bank. And I think this is a really big decision to make. But let me read the news. It's coming in from Chris Wheeler. Breaking, Bruno Fernandes has been set a deadline of next week to decide if he wants to leave and sign a 200 million deal with Al Hilal. Al Hilal want an answer by the end of May and are increasingly hopeful he will be persuaded. Although Bruno Fernandes is happy at United, the prospect of a season out of Europe with a 25% wage reduction and no guarantees that the club can progress quickly under Amorim may convince him to accept the mega money deal. Al Hilal are ready to offer Man United a transfer fee of around 100 million, and Bruno's wages could be in excess of 1 million a week. 1.25 million a week, 100 million pounds for Manchester United. Look, it's for me, sadly, I would do it. I would do it. And the reason I would do it is because you've got to wake up to the enormity of what's happening. It's like the Titanic hitting the iceberg, right? This boat's going to sink. It's going to sink. Man the lifeboats and rescue what you can, because this boat is sinking. And I think some people are ignoring the fact that the boat's taking water on. I think some people are ignoring what has actually happened at this football club. And they're thinking, you don't sell your best players. You can't do that. And I'm like, the club is sinking. We need to do something ridiculous to try and get some money into this football club to rebuild. Bruno Fernandes on his own, put it like this. If we keep Bruno and we have a shit summer transfer window, will we be in the top 4? Probably not. If we sell Bruno and buy 5 or 6 players, will we be in the top 4? Probably not. Why do you want to do it then? Because the season after we might be, but the season after that, Bruno's 33. So I'm sort of like, if we're going to do this, you've got to look at what's the better long-term plan. Because the short-term's not good either way. This is the way I'm looking at it. If we keep Bruno, I don't think we get back in the top 4. If we sell him and bring players in, I don't think we get back in the top 4. But the season after we might. The longer-term plan is better to take that money and spend it wisely. The big concern is you sell Bruno, how much of that £100 million goes to Ruben Amorim? And also the big thing before I get into some of your comments is, and this has to be above selfish needs. You know, you might be Ricky FC, get it done. I'm telling you now. You might be like me going, I don't really want to do it, but look at the state of the football club. We'll have to do it. I also think if you keep him and he doesn't play well every bloody week, people will be going, we could have had the money from Saudi. We're in a really difficult position. Kieran says £100 million doesn't replace him. I don't replace him, Kieran. I don't even try to. You're right. You can't replace Bruno Fernandes. I don't even try to. I don't even bother trying to do it. If Agate is going to be with Casemiro as the holder, I use a new signing and Mainu as the other side. I don't replace Bruno Fernandes. He's not even a pivot. He's not a pivot player anyway. And in the 10 positions, I have Cunha, I try for Cherki, I have Ahmad, I have Xerxes, I have Mount. I just don't replace Bruno. I can't replace him. It's a piss take. It's disrespectful. He's a brilliant player. He's been a great servant to this football club. I do not try to replace him. I buy players for the system. Does Bruno Fernandes suit Ruben Amorim's system? Hand on heart. Does Bruno Fernandes suit Ruben Amorim's system? Hand on heart. He's not a pivot player for me. He's not holding. He's not in the midfield too. And is he quick enough for the number 10? Are you better off with people who fit the system than someone like Bruno Fernandes? That's a question some of you have been asking for a very long time. Also, I think this is the biggest thing of all. Are you willing to lose Ruben Amorim to sell Bruno Fernandes? Because if you aren't, don't sell Bruno Fernandes unless Ruben Amorim's on board. I need to know. I can give you my opinion. I think there's some great points coming in. I can give you my opinion. You can give me yours. But I'm telling you now, if Ruben Amorim is sat there saying, don't do this deal, we shouldn't do it. We shouldn't do it. Because if you're selling a player that the manager values, you're making the same mistake you did with Jose Mourinho. And it would be an absolute disgrace to do that. How can you bring a manager in out of Sporting, give him ultimatums of now or never, throw him into this mess, and then in his first summer transfer window, sell his captain and best player he doesn't want to sell? You can't do that. You can't do that. What I'm hoping is that if we do this, it's because Ruben Amorim's looked at it like I've just said there and you're saying there and gone, you know what? He's a brilliant player, but if you give me that money, I'll get 3 or 4 players in and we'll rebuild this football club. It really comes down to Ruben Amorim now. This is what you get paid the money for. And if I'm Ruben Amorim, I'm sat there going, what a player, what a captain, what a leader. Do I remove that to bring 3 or 4 players in and build a team? And that for me is a flip of the coin. Because before Wednesday, I'd have said no. Today, I'm saying we may as well do it. We may as well do it. So that's sort of where I'm at with it. But it's going to be very interesting. Of course it is. There's still an 8 o'clock show, by the way. Don't worry. This is just some breaking news. Is that up to 300 million total for Bruno over 3 years? If so, as much as I love Bruno, this is too good to be refused to sack it. No, he's not on 100 million. We get 100 million pounds. He don't get 100 million pounds. I mean, he doesn't get far off it. He's getting about 65 million a year. 1.25 million a year, something like that. So, yeah, he'd get 1.25 million pounds a week is what he'd get. And we'd get 100 million pounds. Yeah. If we sell Bruno 120, that's 220 million plus the rest of the sales. Can we easily have 300 million plus to spend on people? Says R34. Pletty said Arsenal are focusing on Sesko. If we can sell and get Gyökeres another 10 and a keeper, I would do it. We'll love Bruno forever though, says GGMU. Just don't trust our recruiting to use 100 million nicely. Look, the way I would look at it, and this is going to be completely and utterly fairy tale land. I always take the piss out of this because it's, you know, Lollipop Lane with candy floss flower clouds and, you know, all that nonsense. But this could be Man United's Klopp to slot. Not in a Premier League sense. I'm talking really, really wish version. But if we sold Bruno and it led to 3 or 4 players coming in and it led to the club being rebuilt over the next 2 or 3 years, I don't think there's a fan out there that wouldn't be grateful for this deal and the role Bruno Fernandes had in this football club being rebuilt. It feels like that. It feels like that sort of a decision. It's sort of like, and look, honestly, the money's not worth anything if you can't get the players you want. You know, don't sell him to go and get Delap, Dibbling, some Preston midfielder and whatever. Don't go and buy a load of kids. Like you do this to get 2 or 3 really good players in. I mean, look, if anybody's ever watched Cunha, do you need Cunha and Bruno in the same team? I've sort of been thinking it for weeks. Like, I'm not so sure that you do. I think there are very big differences between the two, but there are similarities as well. I think Cunha can be the focal point of that attacking team in relation to leadership, passion, etc. I'm not so sure that working in the same team would work. And, you know, that's another interesting point that we're bringing in as well. But look, I don't know whether this is going to happen. We have to make a decision on this, and I think it would split the fan base. I don't think there's anybody out there, well, there is, but they're a minority. Most people are probably of the opinion of a lot of you and me that Bruno Fernandes has been a fantastic servant to this club. He is our player of the year and he is our best player. But Wednesday felt to me like a symbolic line in the sand of we can't keep getting away with this. When I look at it over the years recently, we've been awful and we've got away with it. We got away with it against Lyon. And dare I say it, I was thinking about it yesterday morning, Coventry City in the FA Cup. I mean, everything goes back to that. That offside goal, we'd have been out. Penalty shootout as well. Led us to the final. We beat Man City to get in the Europa League, to get past Lyon, to get to the final. I feel like the luck has run out. And we can't rely on luck anymore. We've got to build a story. And to build a story, we've got to draw a line in the sand and say we can't keep getting away with it. We can't keep papering the cracks. We actually have to build this properly. We've got to build proper foundations. And I think we sort of almost need to turn our back on the past and go, you know, look, Casemiro and Maguire will be gone in a year. I think, I mean, I'm terrified of who the owners are, and that's always going to be a problem. But in a purely footballing sense, I think that now is the time to do something big. Look, Garnacho's going to go. We know that's going to happen. I don't think Mainoo's going to go, but if Bruno goes, it might be a pathway to the team for Mainoo anyway. So I think it's a big decision to make, but you know what? I don't know how everybody else feels at the moment. I genuinely spent so much time building up to that Europa League final, making it into this big thing, this sliding doors moment where if we win, we get into the Champions League and we survive and we grow and we look back and go, we were that close to being absolutely thrown into oblivion. And here we are in oblivion, and I actually, strangely, feel quite liberated. I feel like the truth has been set free. We are really bad. We are a really bad football club with really bad owners and a really bad team, and we're exactly where we deserve to be. And there's no papering the cracks anymore. There's no pretending. There's no we're back. We are absolutely where we should be. And that's quite liberating. It makes you speak honestly if you accept it. And I've spoken to so many Man United fans, and I've read so many of your comments, and I think so many people feel the same. We're not staring into this like, oh my God, we're finished, because we love the football club. But I think many of us are looking at it and going, no, this is where we should be. And it's abysmal and it's horrible. But I tell you what, to get out of this, we've got to make some really big decisions. We speak about the reset button. Do we understand what a reset button is? A reset button is basically you try and change everything. Now, obviously, we're not going to be able to change everything, but in the very definition of changing everything, you can't then moan about taking £100 million for Bruno, or selling Garnacho, or selling Rasmus to Italy, or, you know, getting rid of an Arna, or, you know, moving Casemiro on, or whatever it's going to be this summer. I actually hope that this summer starts off with something like this, and moves into something brand new. Because honestly, my biggest fear for next season is what happened on Wednesday. All this expectation, all this hope, all this they can't let us down again. And you watch that for 90 minutes and you go, that was a joke. That was an absolute joke. And we'll build ourselves up for next season with the same players, and they will do within 4 games we'll be going, here we go again. So I think that I will do a poll. Good point, Yanga. I think this is an opportunity, but Ruben Amorim has to be on board for it. He has to be on board for it. Would you sell Bruno? Let me go. Would you sell Bruno? Yes or no? There we go. Let me go into some of your comments. Welcome to the Members Club, Abhijit. We are still live at 8 o'clock tonight. It'll be a big show tonight. Kick back, glass of wine, love it. Is anyone else excited for the summer? Ruben rebuilt that sporting team, says Goat Smoker. I hope he decides by Sunday so he can say goodbye, says Matthew. Who could replace Bruno Mark? Goncalves, maybe. You know what, Carl? You know what, Goat Smoker? I think Bruno does need to make a decision by Sunday because it would be criminal if we didn't get to say goodbye. And you know what? I think that I'm on the verge of being excited about Man United's future, and I never thought I'd think that. Like, if we are going to tear it all down and rebuild it, then I look at next season and I think there's so many people in the press, in our fan base, that are ready to go for Amorim as soon as we lose the first game. And that is a lot easier to do when you've still got Bruno, when you've still got Casemiro, when you've still got Garnacho, when you've still got Rasmus, when you've still got all the same players. It's going to be very easy to go after Amorim. If he has a complete reset, all this season will be forgotten. Look, the biggest problem with Amorim is he's going to take all of this season into next season. All the losses, the Europa League final, he's going to lose. He's going to take it with him. If he clears house and it's new players and it's his players, I don't think he takes the baggage with him. I think he starts afresh and everyone goes, well, we can't talk about last season because most of these players are new. I think that's something as well. Not confident on Amorim to get 40 points without Bruno, says Cheetah. I think that I will always say, without Bruno this season, we wouldn't have got to the final and we would have got relegated. That's fair. Next season, we can't live on that forever. Well, look, Bruno's going to have to retire at some point. He's 31. What's all this without Bruno? We'll get relegated. Well, hello. At some point, we won't have him anyway. So we can't hide behind that. Jurgen Klopp Liverpool without Jurgen Klopp won't finish in the top 6. They've just won the bloody league. What's different? Oh, Liverpool without Jurgen Klopp, they're finished. Oh, I can't wait. I'm here for this. I'm here for this. How many times did we hear that last summer? Oh, Liverpool are finished now. Jurgen Klopp built that club and made it relevant, and now he's gone. Happy days. Liverpool are absolutely done. And then they're winning the league. They're buying Wirtz. They're buying Frimpong. You don't know what the flip side of the coin is. It's scary. It's scary. Of course it's scary, but it might be better in the long run. Do you think Scooby-Doo will win tonight, says Tommy? I hope so. We need the right players lined up to come in before you take the Bruno deal. We can't take 100 million and buy more Lukaku's, says Jack. I think we need experience in the squad now, says Naman. With the gap. Look, put it this way as well. If I said to you, Bruno out, Cunha and Gyökeres in, would you do it? I'm thinking about it. So, you know, that just tells you, doesn't it? I'm thinking about that. I'm actually thinking Bruno out, Cunha and Gyökeres in. I don't even know if Bruno fits in Amorim's system. I really think that is a question. And you know what? There are so many people out there that ridicule fan content, right? I don't think the mainstream are asking questions like this. We've just spent 20 minutes talking. There's not been any swearing. There's not been any abuse. There's not been any arguing. We've probably hit about 6 or 7 good points. And I think one of the biggest ones is, does Bruno actually suit this system? Cunha does, 100%, in the 2 behind the striker. Gyökeres does, 100%, as a striker. This could mean getting Costa in goal. He suits the system as well. So you've got to build a team. You've got to build a team. You have to build a team. It's not about individuals. It's about a team. With the gaps we have in the squad, losing a rated player for multiple slightly lesser players does make sense, says Dellen. This is precisely what I was worried about when I said it in the pre-match, when I said why 2009 stung with Ronnie was Bruno focused on the final, says Swami. Can the ownership be trusted to reinvest? That's a great point, Michael. Do we lose a player who's always available, says DV. Yeah, you do. It's not a clean one. Oh, God, no. As I said, if Amrim doesn't want to do this, we can't do it. We have to go with the manager on this. And if he stays, I'll back Bruno and I'll back the manager. But if it's better for everyone to do it, I'll back that as well. It's not a clean decision. It's not an easy decision at all. I don't think anybody is saying get rid of Bruno because he's rubbish. I think people are saying get rid of Bruno because of the money and the ability to rebuild a broken club. I've taken a couple of days to get through the final fallout, says Emery. We need to back Emily. He needs to decide if it's worth the long-term benefits. Exactly. We could get 120 million from them, says Matthew. 125. Bruno's injury record makes me not want to sell, says the Beast. Buy a striker that can actually score goals helps, says Ain. Is next season Premier League title or failure? Chris, you're having a laugh. Just don't trust... Get me a pint in, Chris. Just don't trust our recruiting to use it, says Anshamin. Great point. Pletty said Arsenal focusing on Sesko. We did that one. If we can sell and get Gyökeres another 10 and a keeper, I would do it, says GGMU. If we sell Bruno 120 million, that's 220 million plus the rest of these sales. We can easily have 300 million plus to spend on people, says R34. Let Bruno go and let him buy the club in a few years, says Marin. Is that up to 300 million? Done that one from Sakin. This is second get out of jail card, 100 million, says Robert. Before the final, no, but Bruno looks uninterested, says Dale. I mean, I don't know what's happened to Bruno since this story came out as well. He went from amazing to bad Bruno again, didn't he? Maybe he knew the club were looking to sell him. You know, you don't know. I think Bruno loves Man United. I don't think Bruno would walk on a pitch and be head turned, but maybe someone from the club. I mean, look, imagine, can we just focus for 1 second on how crap the club is and how bad it treats people and how it's lost its soul as well? Imagine Bruno Fernandes. Imagine Bruno Fernandes doesn't want to go. Imagine Man United have said to him, we're looking to sell you. And if they've done that before a final and messed with his head, horrible situation if he doesn't want to go, by the way. We can't be saying we need a full squad rebuild while saying, but not this player. Everyone is fair game, says Brandon. Mark, just coming in from Sky Germany. Gunners in concrete negotiations with Sesko. Might be a little boost with us. Regards, Gyökeres, says Fried. Yeah, but someone else could come in for Gyökeres. Chelsea could be in on Monday morning if they've got Champions League football. I hate what we have become, and it's all the Glazers' fault. I don't recognise this club anymore, says David. Hi, Mark. Love the show. As he's been at the club for 5 years, it would be pure profit as well, says Christian. Yeah, 100%. Cam Hyde. If we sell Bruno, we need to buy multiple players and not a landmark player. We need good players in multiple positions. Yeah, we don't need a shirt seller. And one thing I will say, I don't think Sir Jim Radcliffe said he wants shirt sellers. We need experienced players who can play the system. You know, I'm not saying we'd go for these players, but you go for the Gonçalves, like people said, maybe a Trincao. You go for people like that. You don't go for shirt sellers. No one is safe. We need a complete overhaul and have to do so to back the manager. If it doesn't work, at least we tried, says Joseph. I'm all for it as long as we actually do something for a replacement, says Jace. We are dreadful with him, but even worse when he's not on the pitch. Good point. Letting go Bruno will relegate us, says Hayens. Shame about Bruno. Have you seen Arsenal in concrete talks with Sesko, says Kenzo. Where's that coming in from? Is that Pletty goal? Who do we replace Bruno with? Regardless of his recent form, he's our best player by miles, says Light Schofield. As I said before, I don't think you replace Bruno. I don't think you can replace Bruno. And I don't think you need to replace Bruno in relation to the system. I wouldn't do it. Ahmad says, could be our Coutinho moment, but can you get the 120 million again in the next year or two? Maybe that's the risk. Also good requirements, says Ahmed. No soul United. Hard time believing this is who and what we are now. Yeah, I mean, look, Joseph, it's not lost on me. I'm only doing this deal because we're absolutely on our arse. The fact that we've got to do it is sad. Bruno going will be like John Cena, says Ishmael. And Patrick says, I'm at the stage that I have no ties to anything but the club of Man United. Everything has to be on the table. If we want to change, we have to be open to anything, selling Bruno included, says Patrick. And I think another great point is that I think all of us would acknowledge that Manchester United need to spend about £500 million straight away, immediately. And we don't have it. And the reason we need to spend £500 million straight away is because we're not just rebuilding a team, we're changing an entire system. We need players that suit a system. We don't need square pegs in round holes. So we need as much money as possible, and we don't have it. So you've got to find ways to build it. You have to. Naman says, what do you think we take a 3-year rebuild patiently with new players, get top 6, 8, but with a conclusive style of play? Look, Naman, honestly, we might not be in Europe this time next year, but if we've got a team that's growing together, playing good football, I think the fans would get on board with it. I think if next season you're beating the Bournemouths and the Evertons and you're losing to the Arsenals and the Liverpools 3-1, 3-2, I think people would buy into that. I think as long as the football is showing progression and the team is building, I think people buy into it. It's not always about where you finish if you're part of a project, but this project for Amorim has to start this summer. And I find it very difficult to see him building a project with the majority of these players. Therefore, I think we have to do something destructive, and I think we have to do something extraordinary, and I think you have to rebuild. And to do that, you need 6, 7 players. And to do that, you need to turn a page. And also, let's not forget, in the kindest way possible, Bruno Fernandes has been in that dressing room since the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer days. And that dressing room has been toxic for many years, and he's been in it. I don't think he's the reason it's been toxic, but he is a link through multiple managers that have been sacked. He was here in the Ranić era as well, and I think you need to move away from that past. It's liberating. Hi Mark, would you rather go trophyless for 10 years with the Prem at the end of it, or have 5 or 6 trophies that aren't the Champions League or the Prem? Says Matthew. Horrible hypothetical, Matthew. Horrible hypothetical, and I can't really answer it really. I can't really answer it because 10 years is a long time to wait. 100 million would be sensational, but I do not trust the club to invest it, says Scythe. We will need to give silly wages to bring the right players in. We get the GOAT back, Anthony, says Blue Sabre. Imagine the sign sent to the team, even Bruno can go, says Rashid. Yeah, I mean, that's another way of looking at it as well. If we can get 3 or 4 Cunha or Gyökeres level players with Bruno and Garnacho, suddenly I'm thinking the future is bright, says Jace. Excited, have Man to rebuild, can now get goalie, says Jimbo. Bruno is ageing, sell him while he's got value. Cunha was coming anyway, so get Mbeumo, Gyökeres and a keeper. I think it's a start, says Anders. Who realistically is a good enough replacement for Bruno, says Brendan. As I said, I wouldn't actually go for a replacement. I don't think you need to. I think you put Cunha in the 10 and you buy a midfielder in the 8. I don't think you look for a Bruno replacement. I don't think he can be replaced. I think he's unique. He never gets injured. For me, Bruno's 2 players in 1 anyway. So you buy 2 players. I want him to succeed, but Amorim froze in the biggest moment. I can't ignore that. I still back him, but I worry about him just as much as the players, says Rabil. But you know what? That's not an unfair point. And I think in relation to Ruben Amorim, I'm not opposed to what you're saying, even though I back him 100%. He did freeze in that final. He might not be the right guy. So you make a choice. You either move him on or you back him. Moving him on is impossible and it's stupid because we've not even given him a chance. So you have to back him. I think the biggest point here is if United say to Bruno he's up for sale, pride will kick in and he will go, sadly, and that's horrible. But we can't shirk this conversation and we can't shirk this decision. Bruno has literally said, if they want me to go, I will go. I understand it, but I don't want to go. So he's thrown it at the club. I'm not going to go. You're going to have to take the blame. Now, he might be saying behind the scenes, look, it's an amazing offer. And yeah, it's an offer I'm interested in, but I'm not going to be the guy that tells you I'm going. You have to tell me I'm going. And I respect that. So the club has got to make a decision. And that's what you do at the top of the business. You make a decision. You sack Dan Ashworth, you sack Ten Hag, having spent £300 million on him. You make a decision. But I really think, in fairness to the club, the decision is Ruben Amorim's. And I think this is a decision that could define his whole future at Manchester United, because if he keeps Bruno and it severely impacts what he can do in the market, everyone will go, you should have done it. And if he gets rid of him, people will go, that is a harsh decision, you shouldn't have done it. So he can't please everybody, he has to please himself. I'm picking out the worst there. I'm picking out the negative people. There'll be people who are saying he shouldn't do it, and there'll be people who are saying he should do it. My opinion is not changed. I would do it. And it hurts and it'll be sad. But when the club's in a position like this, no decision's going to be enjoyable. I would just do it because we've hit rock bottom and we need to buy as many players as we can as quick as we can. Because I'm looking at Liverpool buying Wirtz, Frimpong, Kerkez and looking at bloody Alvarez and a centre-back. And I'm thinking they're already miles ahead of us. Like, I know we're not going to catch Liverpool in the next couple of years, but we've got to put a plan in place quickly to try. I feel like Liverpool are sprinting ahead in the race. They're miles ahead, and we haven't even started the race yet. Get the fucking trainers on and start running. Start at least trying to keep the gap at what it is. Emily Derry says, we call for open heart surgery, but we have to consider what that may mean practically speaking, says Emily. Exactly. You can't say we need open heart surgery and then say, yeah, but don't cut me. Don't hurt me. Yeah, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. If we sell Bruno, does that mean Mount becomes the default number 10? Look, Wuzzy, I think in relation to Mason Mount, let's not make it about Mason Mount. Mason Mount can't help the fact that he's injury prone, he's not Bruno Fernandes, and nobody will buy him. Mason Mount's here. We can't sell Mason Mount. We're stuck with Mason Mount. He's irrelevant. We just have to hope that he can be a good player. And Amrim likes Mason Mount anyway, so with Bruno gone and Garnacho gone, if he stays fit, he might end up being a half-decent player. Never want to lose, but it helps the realisation that we are a broken club, says Pengers. We could go 30 plus years without a league title. Who cares about these players or manager when hundreds of them will come and go before relevance again? I just saw Sky saying Arsenal in for Sesko. Does that mean Gyökeres to United? Also, Bruno going means another replacement and we don't have that pull. KB. Look, KB, trust me, I've been really trying. And if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. It's going to be a big summer. We've been fortunate enough this summer to probably have 3 or 4 really good exclusives. We had the Liam Delap story before anybody else. We had Yoro and Delo will be fit before anyone else. Yesterday morning, Garnacho's leaving before anyone else. I'd love to be able to have you what's happening with Gyökeres before anyone else, but unfortunately, the source we have isn't going to be able to tell us that because the club has just gone, vroom. I'm hoping that Fabrizio Romano will provide us with an update because before the Europa League final, he literally just basically said that Man United are right in the race for Gyökeres. But we lost the final. So we're sort of in that position now where we're assuming we're not in the race anymore. But, it's the no news that gives you hope. And I nearly tweeted it on at 2 o'clock in the morning after the Europa League final because I stayed up, as I'm sure many of you did. Had a couple of glasses of wine, honestly, put 99 final on and watched a bit of that and was looking at social media. And just before I went to bed, I actually typed it, and then I didn't send it. And what I typed was, I still think we're going to get Gyökeres. And then I stopped it because I thought, I don't want to give anybody any false hope. And also, it's time to go to bed. There is part of me, and it's only a hunch, that still thinks that deal can happen. But there's no logic to it. There's no source to it. There's no sense to it. I just still think that if he was ever interested in coming to Man United, would he look at it and go, yeah, I still fancy it. I still do. Champions League football is great, but I think it's 1 year without it. I'm looking at rebuilding this football club, one of the greatest football clubs in the world. It's a big reach, and God, I'd love it to be true. But we haven't had it confirmed yet. But obviously it seems quite difficult. But yeah, would you try and get Ruben Neves in the deal? Says Alex. I forgot about Ruben Neves. Yeah, I am deluded, Haz. You're right. Whatever we will get for Bruno might as well be used as firewood. I also thought Bruno is pivotal to his plan. That's why, Taffrey, I just keep saying it's going to be on Ruben Amrim here. I would do the deal. If he doesn't do the deal, I'll back the manager. But I would do the deal. But what we don't know is Man United might say, there's the 100 million. We can't get anyone. Cherky won't come. Gyökeres won't come. We've already got Delap. We can pay for that anyway. We've already got Cunha. We can pay for that anyway. The money we get from Bruno, we can't really get anybody with it anyway. Look, it will be sad to see Bruno go, but the 300 million, I would accept it is important. We get the right players in the summer, says Ishmael. Do we have a best player? 2 seasons ago, ended 8th, this season 17th. My club is now Moments FC. I don't agree. I think we should forget all these players and move on from them. The players are switchers, says Palimo. Bruno buys Gyökeres and Delap, says Tomo. Are we wrong about selling players for X and then buy 2 players for Y in instalments? If instalments are normal, aren't we selling to a club doing the same? So we don't have, say, 60 for Ghana, but 615, says Yona. Yeah, but it's all a paper exercise, isn't it? I think just going back to that as well, look, there's a lot of talk from Italy that clubs like Juventus would go for Rasmus as well. So you might be able to get 2 strikers. But we're talking like we've won the Europa League final here, and we haven't. Could you see a Pogba reunion? No, James, that would be horrific. Cunha and Delap would come anyway. 30 for Rashford, 30 for Anthony, 100 for Bruno and 60 for Garnacho. We could buy 6 or 7 players paying 15 million a year. There's a lot of money there, Red Devil Germany. There is a lot of money there. Do you think Mount will be better 10 than Bruno in Amorim's system, says Jerry? He might be. Sounds incredible, but he might be. And this is what I was talking about. I don't actually know where Bruno fits in this system. I don't know where he fits in. I think when you play him next to Casemiro or Agate, you're playing him out of position and he hasn't got the positional sense or the defensive discipline. And I think when you play him in the 2 number 10s positions, he hasn't got the movement and speed to play how Amorim wants to do it. I think he's a hybrid of the 2. I don't know that he naturally fits the system as well. What I'm trying to say is Bruno would be better than Mount and Bruno would be better than Mainu. But is Mainu better in the 8 and Mount better in the 10 than Bruno, even though he's better than both players? If he doesn't fit the system, it's pointless, is what I'm trying to say. Marcus Rashford, on his day, is better than Garnacho and better than Ahmad. All right, people might disagree with me, but I'm talking about Marcus Rashford at his best. But not in this system, because he can't play the system. Anthony can't play the system. Whatever you think about Rashford, on his day, at his best, very, very good player. But where does he play in this system? We don't play with a left forward that doesn't need to track back. So you've got to look at systems. And Ahmad's 10 times better than Rashford because he suits the system. But Rashford doesn't. But if you're talking about actual wingers in a wide forward system, I'd say Rashford on his day is better than Ahmad. But obviously not the Rashford we've seen over the last year. What I'm trying to say is it's about systems and it's not about players. We've sold better players, says Jake. I love him, but we need this. His age and position means it will only get worse. We need physical athletes in the squad, says Jake. Who would be our new captain, says Sam. I wouldn't worry about that. Because I think what people do is they let their mind wander to the past and they can't accept change. First game of the season, Brighton away. You've got 5 new players. Cunha, a striker, a goalkeeper, a midfielder, another number 10, could be Mbeumo. Completely different team that can play the system and score goals. And De Ligt's your captain. And suddenly you're like, okay, De Ligt's the captain. The team's playing really good football. You've got Cunha and Mbeumo behind Delap or whatever. We've just won 3-1. We're playing really well as a team. There's a real team ethic. So, I mean, I'm giving you a fantasy, but it could be a reality. Like, you can't, if you're taking something away that you think you can't do without, remember you're replacing it with things that might be better. And it is all about the system with this, I think. Ruben got us 9 points in 5 months, says Udit. Hi, Mark. Do you think we can win the league next season? Says Devon. No. We've sold better players, says Jake. Who would be our new captain, says Sam. We still have to pay for Agate, says Tolja. Well, I know. We've got about £80 million to spend this summer on players. But the club knew that anyway. We were always going to have to do that, of course. But it's interesting if you're tuning in. Make sure you subscribe. We are going to be back live at 8 o'clock. But breaking news in the last half an hour or so, or probably hour now, because I've been live with you for 40 minutes. Time flies when you're having fun with friends. I think that this breaking news is very significant. I think that it just won't go away as well. And in my experience, this deal could have been killed dead weeks ago. When it first came out that Saudi want to pay this money for Bruno, we could have killed this deal dead. We didn't. Bruno's not played well since the story came out, and here it is again. If this deal, I'll give you a bit of an insight. If this deal was something United didn't want to do, that it killed it dead. The amount of times I've spoke to people about at Man United about a Rashford deal or something, and they've gone, absolutely not, Rashford's not for sale, or absolutely not, Bruno's not for sale, or anything like that, like last summer. You can't get that at the moment. So something's going on. Something's definitely going on, because the club, the player, manager, they just haven't really... Well, Amrim has sort of killed it dead, and that's where I think it might not happen, because to be fair, Amrim has said he's our player, I don't want him to go. Bruno's said, I'm a Man United player, I don't want to go, but if they want me to go, I will. What I do not want to happen, is I don't want Bruno to be forced out against Amrim's will because Sir Jim Radcliffe wants it. That, I would be against that. That can't happen. Just because I do it, I would not be for that. You can't have a situation where you force the player out and the manager doesn't want him to go, but the club do it because they're broke. That's not what I want to happen. I would want Amrim to be on board with it and say, look, I get it. We do need to do it. And if you give me these players, let's get on with it. No player is bigger than the club, says Bear Merchant. Would you have Mason back, says Pushka? No. This lot in the chat just want a new toy. It's embarrassing. Get rid of one of our best players. It's not FIFA. You're playing pathetic, says Russell. But to be fair, Russell, I agree with your sentiment, but we have just spent 40 minutes not just saying we want a new toy. We've been through about 6 or 7 really interesting points as to why we might need to do it. 100 million to remove an undisciplined Hollywood last-ditch ridiculous footballer. That's made us laughing stop. I'm taking it, says Nick P. There's your contrast. Thank you very much for that. Look, thanks everybody for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Can I ask a favour at the end of this video? One, we're back at 8 o'clock. It's the Friday night show, which is always good fun. I know a lot of you have got a lot of things you want to talk about, what's next for United, etc. We'll carry on the conversation. 2, personal favour, I've brought back a video on my Mark Goldbridge sort of lifestyle channel. It's called My Biggest Weakness. If you haven't watched it, please give it a chance. The link is in the live chat and in the video description. You could just click it and go and give it a watch now. I'd really appreciate your support for that channel. Take care, everyone. I'll see you at 8 o'clock where we'll carry it all on. Thanks for watching.